Hey everybody, this is John Lutter with Kite Stop in Titusville, Florida. Today I'm out at Marina Park. It's one of my favorite parks here in Titusville. It's located right on the Indian River Lagoon, and if you look over my shoulder, maybe you can see a little building out there. It's called the Vehicle Assembly Building. It's where they assemble all the rockets that get launched at the Kennedy Space Center. This is a great little place. It's nice and quiet. You can see some boats in the background. You can just sit here and ponder life or kites or whatever you feel like. But today I'm out here kind of thinking about things about the kite community. Recently there was a post on Facebook by one of my friends who asked, do we have 5,000 kite flyers in the United States? Obviously there are, but what they're referring to when they say that is basically how many members of the kite community do we have. By any objective means, over the past 20 years or so, kiting seems to have been on a decline. Kite stores aren't as plentiful as they used to be. There's not as many kite festivals or kite clubs in the area. If you just take the American Kite Flyers Association membership, it's significantly lower than it was during the 80s and 90s. A lot of kite flyers put their hopes and dreams on the American Kite Flyers Association to somehow resurrect the popularity of kites. A lot of them came into the sport and hobby of kites during the 80s and 90s when it was really popular. And they kind of hope to have the AKA bring it back to that same level. And as some of you know, I was the president of the American Kite Flyers Association for a couple of years, so I do have some inside knowledge on the association and the kite community at large. We used to do a lot of surveys, they still do, just so that we can understand who our membership is and how we can best serve them. One of the challenges we face as a community is that we are having this huge generational shift. The majority of our members in the American Kite Flyers Association are of the older generation, the generation in the 65 plus retiree age group. And they consume information much differently than the younger generation. They really like to have their printed materials, letters mailed to them, a printed magazine, while the younger generation is okay with email and electronic magazines, things that they can watch on they can look at and watch on their iPads or cell phones. So that's really been a challenge in trying to move the association forward without alienating the older generation. So one of the things that I had tried to do during my tenure as president was to increase our social media while improving our printed stuff. I think I did a pretty good job at that, and in doing so I brought in the current president of the American Kite Flyers Association, Nick O'Neill, who has kind of moved the ball much further than I was able to do. So I'm actually really proud to have her as the president, because she's been able to kind of bring a fresh perspective and a younger kind of enthusiasm toward kiting. But that really doesn't address the problem with kites and why things aren't popular. Who's to say what really makes things popular and unpopular? Could be anything from popular culture. Maybe there's not enough kites on TV, or maybe there's just not enough kids out flying kites on a windy day. I think that's mostly the case. A lot of kids these days and a lot of adults just aren't spending time out in nature. I'm in a location here that's just surrounded by recreational opportunities. You've probably seen even through the course of this video that there's some boats in the background going by, and there's lots of people that do kayaks and do all kinds of things out in these parks, but it's not nearly as the amount that you would think there should be. With so many people, these parks are fairly unpopulated. Other than maybe on the weekends when people have birthday parties and stuff in the pavilions, generally speaking, a lot of people just don't go out anymore. They are stuck inside playing on their computers or watching TV, laptops and cell phones. And that's kind of the challenge of kiting, because it's an outdoor activity. Yes, I know that there is a growing sport of indoor kite flying where people fly in gymnasiums and basketball courts, but that's not naturally accessible to everybody in the country. As long as the weather is okay and there's a slight breeze, anybody can go out to a park in a big field like a football field or a soccer field and fly kite. As a kite store owner, this is usually top of mind. I really don't know what makes something go viral as opposed to not. We've had a couple of instances where videos of flying octopus or a bird riding a bicycle kite get passed around on social media and go viral. But I don't necessarily think that translates into people coming out and flying kites or buying kites from a kite store. It's a novelty, but it doesn't make somebody go out and want to fly a kite. And I have to wonder, what do we do to get people to come out and fly kites more? I know for myself and a lot of my kite flying friends, we like big kites and really impressive kite flying and four-line kites and dual-line kites that are very dynamic and quick moving and exciting. But I wonder sometimes if by bringing these huge kites that are the size of cars or that have so many lines that you kind of get confused when you see them, that if that isn't diminishing or if it's not making it seem a lot more intimidating to fly kites than it really is. I don't know the answer to that. So ultimately, I think it comes down to getting more and more people to understand that being in front of a computer and or in front of your tablet or iPad or cell phone really is not as much fun as it is to be out in the nature and kind of enjoying being outside. I don't know if it's a matter of advocating for large open spaces. It could be. I think there's certainly an avenue there. But does that make kite flying popular again? I don't think so. I often wonder, as a kite store owner, if I'm not selling buggy whips during the age of cars. Am I in a dying industry? And sometimes it's really hard to answer that question. Because yes, kites are dying off. Kite flying is not as popular. It's something that everybody knows. They know what a kite is. There's no explanation needed on what a kite is. Even the youngest kids know what a kite is. So it's kind of a weird industry, and if you think about it, most products that get introduced to society need to be explained, and kites are one of those things that doesn't need to be explained. Yes, there are different types of kites that have different aspects and stuff, but even the youngest kids, as soon as they know the letter K in kindergarten, they are introduced to the word kite, and history lessons always include some type of mention of Ben Franklin in a kite. So we have an area, a type of industry that has plenty of name and recognition, but for some reason we can't get people out to fly kites as often as they should. Is it just a matter of flying kites and growing the sport and the art organically? I'd like to think so, but that hasn't worked so far. A lot of us we go out flying at least once a week, if not more. April is National Kite Month, so there's going to be lots of events throughout the nation of people promoting kites and doing kite events and little workshops all over the country. but we've been doing that for quite some time now, and I don't know if we've really made a dent in making kites popular again. So I apologize for making this such a long, rambling video. It's just kind of the things I ponder when I'm sitting out in nature and thinking about kites and my industry, and you know, how I can benefit my business a little bit. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I just don't know what the answer is. I think it involves a lot of community talk, but we also have to put something into action to actually get people to come out and fly kites. So I'd really like to bring this discussion into our comments. So if you do have any comments about the kite community or the AKA or anything that I can maybe answer on my side, please leave a comment below, and I'll try to answer it. And let's continue this discussion in our comment section.